Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here. I'm with Michael Sanz. This is the Outsourced PM podcast show. And Michael, we've really been getting in deep. And I just invite everyone, go back to the library of podcasts that we've already created. You know, Michael and I have worked very, very hard on those topics that are meaningful and relevant to where you're at in your virtual assistant journey. Now, that journey may not mean that you've actually got to employing a virtual assistant yet. The journey could be in your mind thinking, how could a virtual assistant work in my business? And you and I know, Michael, virtual assistants just provide such an amazing solution in a property management business of today, particularly in the last 2 years where the industry has been smashed with the COVID complications and issues, where a lot of property managers have decided that property management is no longer for them. Virtual assistants are providing a good solution, not necessarily replacing the property manager's position, but they can be doing a lot of the mundane work and freeing up your property management staff, your higher paid, dollar productive staff to be focusing more on customer service and growth. And today, Michael, we've decided that we're going to tackle the 5 dangers of going or doing it yourself. And what we mean by that is that, yes, you have the ability to deal directly with people, for example, in the Philippines, or you could go to Indonesia or India or whatever. And we're just going to focus on talking about the Philippines and dealing with staff directly, which means you cut out the management agency or the backbone or the support behind that position and deal with the person direct. And the main motivator there would no doubt be a dollar saving. But I guess we want to go through and explain the dangers. I've also had my fingers burnt in the past of my 15 years or so experience of dealing with virtual assistants, where I've had my fingers burnt in going direct, and I'll share those as well. But firstly, Michael, one of the dangers of dealing with staff directly where they have no managing agency like Teams by Design behind the process to support it, is let's talk about going AWOL. Now, if you've been using virtual assistants, you may understand what we're talking about here, but what is the danger of AWOL? Explain what that is, Michael, and let's talk about what's behind it.
AWOL is when your team member would just go missing. Could be a number of reasons. It could be that family crisis that they had to attend to, that they've left today, but they don't come back, that you don't hear from them. Could be that you sent them a task and they've asked a question you haven't replied to, and they've just gone silent and disappeared. Could be that they're not logging on anymore. A number of reasons why anyone would go AWOL. And I guess if you've got no visibility of your team member, you're lost. You're essentially handing over so much assistance to someone, and they go missing and they go AWOL, and you've got no way of communicating with them. I mean, Darren, most people that I speak to that have a virtual assistant that they go direct with, I say, which part of the Philippines are they from? Oh, I don't know. I go, are they main part Manila? Or are they out in the province? Whereabouts are they? Like, oh, I got no idea. And that also plays a big part. Like if they're in a built-up area or a province area, where typically like the family would live, and they may not have as good a signal out there. So if there is a family emergency, they go out. You're not going to hear from them, right? Like unless they go to an internet cafe, there's no internet, there's no phone signal, there's nothing in certain areas. So that's one reason. We had, I remember Darren, probably about 6 years ago, I employed a loan processor, and he was absolutely fantastic. He was just a gun. He was so committed. He had all of his template documents to send out. He was just fantastic. But there was a mudslide in his family's village, and he said, "Michael, I've got to go and attend to that." I'm like, "Yep, no problem. That's great." I never heard from him again. He just went AWOL.
Right? They just disappear. Now, this is something for us that are not in the Philippines, whether you're listening from the UK or the USA or New Zealand or Australia. It's hard for us to understand this even happening. People just disappear. That they're there 1 minute, everything's fine, everything's great, silence, nothing. They didn't say anything. And this is really confusing unless it's happened with you. And Michael, again, in the Philippines, the family is really centrally important here, and it likely has a lot to do with the AWOL. But how does a person just disappear just that easily though? What actually happens? What is going through the VA's mind when they disappear? What makes them not want to communicate? What makes them not want to let their employer know, hey, look, I've got a family emergency, I need to go? What's behind the ghosting?
Well, like this is an example. 3 weeks later, he messaged me back and he said, "I'm back." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't hear from you. Like I tried chasing you up and looking for you, and I didn't hear. I've had to re-employ." But from their perspective, they didn't think anything was wrong. They tended to their family, they're in the area. And so they were like, well, no harm, no foul. I'm looking after my family. That's important to us. And at that point, I didn't know how to contact you.
But that hasn't been communicated. And we wouldn't even consider that being an issue. And they don't consider it an issue to actually disappear. We wouldn't even think, why would someone disappear? And this is the issues you've got when you're dealing direct, and you don't have a backup. Now, dealing with a management company or virtual assistants like Teams by Design doesn't mean that you're immune to that happening, because they've got family, they have a sense of urgency to look after whatever family emergency may have occurred. But Michael, in the very rare situation where that does occur, what does Teams by Design have in place to alleviate this rare situation?
So we try to have temporary backups available. With someone, they're sick, they're out. We had some people the other day, Darren, they had to go on boats. So if we've got clear instructions on what the task is, step by step, then it's easy for us to bring someone from another role to step in and do that backup, or at least try to do the urgent things that need to happen for that day. When we're in the process now, Darren, of trying to hire more backups, just to kind of have floating people on the team to support in a backup role for overflow, or if people need to be away or on leave. I'm finding that role is probably one of the most important roles now in the business, is to have that backup, because people are sick, they go home, whatever the reason is. At the moment, there's a COVID crisis still going through the Philippines, still pretty bad. And there's also a flu season going on there right now. So it's hitting them in every which way. And we need to be understanding.
And these are things that people don't understand unless they've actually been experienced of using virtual assistants. This can be a real problem. So you've got to have that management company behind, like Teams by Design, that is able to fill that should that situation occur. And I got my fingers burned on this many years ago, Michael, where I was actually using a company and they didn't have a backup, Michael. So when this person went AWOL for 4 weeks, it was like, oh my goodness, they disappeared. We don't know where they've gone. For the management company didn't have any backup staff. It was a so sad, sorry, too bad situation. Good luck, you're on your own. I had to go and find another solution. And then that person pops their head up weeks and weeks later, it's too late. And there was that confusion. They just thought it was completely okay, where we think it's 100% not okay. So this is, again, why you've got to be careful about going direct with the person. That's why you need the management structure and the support behind that position. The next one, Michael, is where I've had my fingers burnt again, dealing with someone direct. And this was someone I found through Upwork. And Upwork is a viable platform. I use Upwork for other things. So, for example, recently we're putting out our second IGT book. I used a contractor on there for a temporary situation. It was 2 or 3 weeks of work to lay out our book, get it ready for ebook release, then getting it ready for the print version, which looks completely different when it comes to how the book is released. And that was good for a temporary situation. But if you're using a person from Upwork, like I was, on a full-time basis, in the end, this person was I was doing well, and she said, "So sad, so sorry, too bad. I'm now going to go work full time for another client. Goodbye." Not much notice. Bang, gone. Solution gone. Tell us more about that particular issue, Michael.
There's a huge freelancer mentality in like Southeast Asia, Philippines, like those who work from home. And, it would be that they would be task-based, project-driven scenario. So they'd go on platforms like Upwork, they would, submit quotes and tenders to pick up jobs, and they would be like an Uber driver, right? Like the Uber driver of outsourcing. What I find there is there's no loyalty to any one person. They're really just going for wherever the biggest dollar is. So there's, understandably so, like they're looking out for them, but there's no future growth prospect. They're just doing, task by task. There's no promotion, no growth, they're not part of a team. So they would generally become unmotivated at one point in time. But whoever you go with, direct, you got to make sure they haven't got that freelancer mindset, that they still don't have their profile up on those platforms. It's like if you start dating someone and they still stay on Tinder, right? They haven't really bought into your experience, and they're waiting to see if this is the real deal, and before they remove their profile.
Yeah, you think you've got, their devotion, and they still are putting themselves out there to other clients. That is another danger.
Yeah, you definitely don't have their full focus, because there's no one there managing them. There's no one there overseeing them. There's no one there taking them on Christmas parties. There's no one there, doing rewards and being there, holding their hand, buying into the team ethos.
So you might think that you've got their loyalty, but you may not. And that could cause problems. Let's just move on to the next one, where they are working for others without you knowing, where they could be still dealing with other clients. Why is that a problem?
So I guess you got to worry about the burnout factor. They might be working on your for you between like the hours 9 to 5, and even still, they might be working for another client 5 till 2 in the morning, right? And so they're kind of burning the candle at both ends. I guess you've got to be concerned that if they're working for you and working for somebody else, that they're not getting too tired, because something has to give. Someone has to miss out on quality and attention to detail.
It comes to mind a quote from the movie The Hobbit, where Bilbo Baggins talks about was it Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings? But he said, I feel like butter spread over too much bread. You're spreading yourself out so thin. If this VA is working for multiple people and you think you've got them full time, you're not getting their devotion. You're not getting their heart, their mind, their soul, their focus, particularly around complex property management tasks. You want them completely focused. So what you may find is the tasks not being done properly. They're being done loosely. There's issues, there's problems and mistakes, there's things being missed. Accuracy has become a problem because they're only doing it half-hearted, because their heart is being spread with other people. And that's a difficulty of, again, dealing with these people, particularly off Upwork or something like that. You might think that you've got value by, getting less, but it comes out in other issues where in the end, you just hit the wall and think this is not worth it. But what's happened is you haven't done it properly. This is why you need a person that's devoted to you full time, and getting someone through a management company like Teams by Design, you're going to be able to get their full focus and their full attention. I think this is what we're getting to, because property management tasks are worth it. They need full-time attention because of the complexities involved. You don't want them doing property management and then something completely outside of the industry. They're going to get very, very thin on the ground with their focus. So, all right, I think we've explained that one pretty well. So again, we talked about someone going AWOL and just disappearing. choosing another client over you. So you actually lose them because they go, well, I'm getting a lot of work with someone else. So sad, too bad, goodbye. And then you're left just holding the baby, not getting the value. And then working with others and working with you as well, where the focus is compromised. The next one that we've got here, Michael, and this is something that I've also experienced, is where people take advantage of you. And you talked about freelancers and about they're in it for themselves, which they are. They're working at an hourly rate and stuff like that. And I've had this. And I was working with a graphic artist. He was really good, and it just got to one point where my rates are going up. It couldn't justify them. I was from a rich country in his mind, and therefore I need to be paying more. Goodbye. And if you don't, it's goodbye. And that was it. And I was really put up with the attitude. I felt that I was being taken advantage of, and it broke my trust.
That happens. And you know what also happens, Darren, is when there's not so much even just increasing their rates and kind of saying, if you don't pay the rate increase, I'm going to leave. It's when they start asking you for, like, my dog is sick, and I know you think I'm great, but I can't work tomorrow because I need to go find money to take my dog to the vet. And then you think, oh gosh, okay, well, if I pay you the money for the vet, can you work tomorrow? Yes, of course I can. Yes, I'll have the vet come around to my house. And so then you start paying money, and then all of a sudden, the kid's sick and needs to go to hospital.
Michael, what about laptop broke down?
Laptop broke down. Mobile phone got dropped in the pool.
I can't afford a new laptop. You don't know what they cost in the Philippines. And now you're thinking, oh my goodness, I have to come up with $2 or $3 grand because you feel pressured to help them. They're putting the pressure on you. It may be a genuine situation. And Michael, we do get that. You get that with the virtual assistants, right? But that's not the client's problem. Is that Teams by Design has situations in place where you're able to loan that person money, but it doesn't become the issue of the real estate client or the office that they're working for. And this is by taking on a management company like Teams by Design, where Teams by Design is able to then sort those issues out, but they don't become your issue.
Yeah, well, we have agreements that they have to sign about, not soliciting to the client, asking them for money. It's a instant dismissal offence, because I think what you find is that you start chasing your loss. So if you're going direct, you kind of lend the money for one thing, you lend it for the other. You don't want them to go, and you're like, well, I've got to pay more money to do this, so that you stay. When and it's like you're gambling, and you're chasing a bad debt. Mm-hmm. So it's a red flag when they start asking you for money. If anything, the conversation should be to make sure that what you're paying them is fair and equitable. And Darren, I had a conversation with someone in Brisbane a few years ago. They owned an outsourcing company, and they were telling me off for not paying our team minimum wage. They were saying, why would you bother paying people more than minimum wage? And bear in mind, minimum wage is like $1.80 or something crazy insane. And we're nowhere near that at all, because quality of life. But there are agencies out there that are paying the team close to minimum wage, right? And so when they start asking you for money, you might think that paying them $2 an hour is acceptable because you're going direct, but it's not, and they're not going to stay with you, and you're going to have all those problems.
And I think we will do a podcast, Michael, around the dangers of having the wrong management company as well, and some of the issues there, and those sort of things there of, treating the VAs like caged hens, putting them in a sweatshop, all those sorts of things, taking advantage of them, things. We'll cover that in another podcast there. But let's talk about now number 5, the fifth danger of going direct, not working with a management company, is really just employing the wrong person from the outset. And having said that, Michael, in the last 2 podcasts ago, we've covered the 11 checkpoints that you put people through with recruitment. Now, we're just talking, you've got an event coming up in Manila on in a couple of weeks where you can do a full day training people in a room. You're going to teach them all about working for real estate offices in Australia, New Zealand, covering culture, covering slang, covering language, covering right expectation, covering the sort of work that we're doing, the sort of work environment that we're working in, what sort of equipment they're going to need, all of those to bring people into a work from home environment. But you're doing that because then you're able to see the people in the room and start filtering them out from there. This is a filtering process. You're not going to go and employ anyone off the street, on the ground in your city to work in your office. You're going to go through an interviewing process. This is the issue you've got with going direct, is that what experience have you got? Michael, do you want to just quickly talk about the things to look out for to make sure that you've actually got the right person?
You touch on this, and it's quite funny. We are off to the Philippines in the next week, and there's this hotel that I like staying at there, and it's a nice one, and the staff there are just tremendous. They are just so human, warming, absolutely brilliant. And what I would like to do is try and offer as many of the people that work there a job with us, right? Because you're in front of them, you see how they act and engage with people and what they're like in a social setting. If you're interviewing people on Zoom, it's very much, you only get to deal with them when they join the Zoom and when the Zoom comes to an end. Going to Riva, Bev came from Riva, and she's absolutely fantastic. And there were so many more fantastic people there on the day, Darren. We look for the humanality. We look at their personality, how they engage, how they get on in a social setting, because they want to be part of a team. And like when they come and they see that there are other like-minded people there, they buy into that. But if you can imagine, you put a job on Upwork or Elance and sites like that, and your only dealings with them are just on like a Zoom video, which is so formal, you don't get to see that they want to go have a drink with you afterwards. You don't get to see that they want to take you to their favorite restaurant and share with you. In fact, I would put it out there that those that have got virtual assistants that are direct with them, how many times have they showed you what they're cooking for dinner? How many times have they invited you into their kitchen and showed you like what it's like there? How many times have they walked you around the park? How many times have they invited you into their life? And I would probably say that it'd be above 98% of people that have gone direct wouldn't know that about them, wouldn't know that depth about them. They are just someone on the other side. Get to know the person that you're going to be working with. Find out how many kids they've got, where they live, the food that they like, the movies they watch, the books they read. Because this all forms your opinion. The more you know about the person, the more your opinion can be formed, the more you're prepared to help. Going over to the Philippines, doing this Riva, the real estate virtual assistant event, we get to see people firsthand, and they also get to have clarity over what we're looking for and what we want as part of a team. Because we look for a couple of things, Darren. Being an agency, we look for, are they going to be qualified and suitable to work with a client? Are they going to be part of our team and contribute and add value? Because we don't want people on our team either just becoming isolated, independent people that don't participate. We are a team. And one of the benefits that we have, instead of people going direct, we have that social motivation. We have that motivation as a team. We have the huddles. We have the catch-ups. Whereas if they go direct and they're on their own, all those issues that you raised before, Darren, start to pop up. They're not exclusive. They're not exclusive, to people that go direct. We have those headaches and issues too, but we have procedures and ways that we manage, issues like that.
And yeah, the real estate virtual assistant event is very much about finding that right person, that diamond there. And there's a lot of people that aren't suitable as well. So if you are dealing direct, the danger is it's very much a lucky dip. It's we get it, you want to save money, but in the end it could cost you a lot more, and certainly give you a bad experience and give you actually a bad opinion towards virtual assistants because it wasn't done right in the process. We really recommend go back into the podcast, look at 11 checkpoints of recruiting and the different layers and the filters. And Michael, you've talked out of 100 applications that you may get of people interested to become a VA, only 2 successfully come out the other end. You don't want to applying your lack of experience to the recruiting process because you want to deal direct. And so, Michael, we've covered, again, 5 dangers there of dealing with DIY. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they want to chat with you about, going down the path of using a virtual assistant, the benefits of their business, of course, any hang-ups or any issues they've got, questions they've got, concerns that they've got, they can throw at you. What's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, just go to teamsbydesign.com, contact us, and we'll reach out to you and book a time to have a chat.
Cool. And I think it's worth it because, if you're on your journey, even if you haven't employed yet, you're still on your journey. You're thinking about it. How can this fit? Something else happens to the business, makes you bring back virtual assistants to mind. Could this be a solution? You're getting closer and closer. Chat to Michael. Just book in, chat to Michael, throw whatever at him, any concerns you've got. Now, we've covered other big concerns that people do have. Generally, we've discovered there are 6 things. Let me just list them off the top of my head, Michael. We've got people concerned about task accuracy and the time it takes to get the tasks done. There too. The next one is English skills. People concerned about their English skills. The next one is time zoning. Will these people work in my time zone? Quick answer is yes, yes, and yes. The next issue is around this mindset we've got. Well, we can't be offshoring jobs. We've got to be supporting the local economy. That is a concern, and we're certainly not here replacing property managers. I've never heard of a property manager without a job, Michael, because a virtual assistant got it. There is no such thing. Property managers are still getting work. There is a massive shortage of property managers, so virtual assistants will never be taking those jobs. And the 6th one is around security and privacy, security of data, privacy, all those sort of concerns. So we've answered them in the podcast series. Go back, have a look. We've got a lot of topics there. Pick and choose those 1 or 2 that you want to listen to that are relevant to you at the moment. We've got quite a library going now. But Michael, thanks again. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you in the next podcast show.
Thanks, everyone.